Hello class, welcome to the second part of waste management. So the first part of waste management, you would have understood quite a lot of things about how it impacts our society and what are the problems that it creates. But the second part is how to do it in the right way, or how to properly do waste management or do it in the correct way. There are various methods involved in doing it the correct way because the most common waste which we deal with every single day is solid waste and liquid waste. So there are different methodologies for solid waste and liquid waste. So before that, we just slip it to the syllabus. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are not 9, 10, 11 as well. So chapter number 12, the first half has been completed, and that was what you saw in the last video. Impact of waste accumulation and all of this, along with global warming and greenhouse effect and ozone depletion. The second half is the lower portion of the chapter waste management, which will be today's topics of how to deal with the correct method of waste management. Before that, in the Zoom doubt clearing session, a lot of you had a doubt about what is soot and what is ash. So soot and ash are similar terms, but there's a difference. The difference is that soot is much more smaller than ash. Soot are fine black particles. They are composed of carbon. They are produced by incomplete combustion of hydrocarbon such as coal, oil, wood, and other fuels. So when any hydrocarbon, which is any element which is composed of hydrogen and carbon, any compound which is hydrogen and carbon, wood, petrol, diesel, kerosene, natural gas, coal, all these things contain both hydrogen and carbon. So when these burn, sometimes they don't burn completely, they leave behind some small residue, and when it's very tiny, it is considered soot, and when it is a little bit bigger, it is considered ash. Ash or ashes are solid remains of fine particles. They specifically it refers to non-aqueous, which means it doesn't have any water content in it, or non-gaseous residues of remains, which is what you get after something which is having hydrogen and carbon when it is burnt. Ashes are the end product of incomplete composition, same like soot. Soot also is a product of incomplete combustion. Ash also is a product of incomplete combustion. But the only difference is that ash is a little bit in size than soot. What is the need for waste management? Need for waste management is pretty much same to the last video session which we did. Why? Because if we don't do waste management in a proper way, there will be a lot of consequences, and these are the consequences: transmission of new diseases, new epidemics, increase in greenhouse gas concentration, which will cause ozone layer depletion, acid rain, soil degradation, global warming, contamination of groundwater systems, loss of plant and animal life, monuments and buildings being affected because of acid rain, and the last point as well. What are the roles that we need to play? We always keep on complaining each other, but there's a role for government, there's a role for the producer, and a role for the consumer. Government's role is to enforce rules to promote eco-friendly products and ban or minimize the usage of products which do not degrade or harm the environment. So they have to put in rules in such a way that products which degrade or harm the environment should not be released or should not be produced. Even if it's produced at a high range or high quantity, it should be minimized or the usage of the product should be toned down. Formulate a proper waste management system. Even if the point number one is not done properly, point number two, if it is done, we still can achieve proper waste management. Formulate a proper waste management plan for each city, each town, each village. Put people regarding waste management in higher positions, and from what waste, where it is collected, where it is segregated, where it is dumped, where it is decomposed, where composting is done, where filtration is done. So if there's people put in charge for all these things, easily we can do proper waste management. What about the role of a producer or a person who is doing business or who is manufacturing goods? The company must reduce fossil fuel usage and move to more of alternative source of energy like wind, solar, or other kinds of energy like nuclear or hydroelectric forms, which will make sure that the earth is not being affected. Produce more durable and multiple recyclable products. If the products which they produce are easily broken, which means they are easily going into the dustbin, which means that the garbage we are using every day increases. So if the products are more durable, obviously the amount of waste which we put into the dustbin reduces. And if the product is recyclable 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times or even 10 times, multiple recyclable products, it still won't reach the dustbin till it is used 10 times or 15 times. So that's also a big advantage. So producers must produce durable products and multiple recyclable products. The last point is that they must sell biodegradable products at a lower price. Recently, there was a company which started producing water bottles made out of bamboo, but the problem was that they were selling it at a really high price, and obviously nobody wanted to buy. Even though many people want to put away with plastic and want to switch to the biodegradable products, if it is sold at a very higher price, nobody would still want to buy it. So selling biodegradable products or alternative products at a lower price is very, very important. Consumer, you and me, what are the choices or roles that we have to play? When we go for shopping, whether it be a place where we go for eating, or whether it be where we go to buy books or groceries or vegetables or fruits, make sure that the choices we buy from any supermarket are eco-friendly. It doesn't harm the environment. Next thing, follow the guidelines to segregate waste at home and society. When we go to buy certain things, the best is to carry a cloth bag with ourselves. When we come back and consume products and there's leftover, we must segregate or separate it along with wet waste or dry waste, biodegradable, non-biodegradable, like that. Reuse already used items for a different purpose. Once you use plastic bottles, once you use wooden cardboard boxes, once you use glass, paints or sheets, you can reuse it for different purposes. Recycling plastic, glass, paper often is very important, which is a very important thing that we as consumers doing. Methods for safe disposal of solid waste. Here we are going to discuss about 5 points, which is the most important part of this video session, or the most important point of proper waste management. So please kindly pay attention. Number one, collecting. Number two, segregation or separating. Number three, disposal or dumping. Number four, number four, composting. And the last one is recycling. Remember that you have to remember these in the correct order. Don't mix it up, because collecting comes first, then you separate what you collected, then you dump or dispose it in a proper way, and you either compost it, which can be degradable, or which cannot be degradable, you recycle it. So it should come in the order A, B, C, D, E. From collecting, what is the first thing? Collection. You collect it from homes, from industries, from commercial zones, from streets, from colonies. You would have seen people who have come collecting like this using trucks, using large vehicles, or even door to door collecting with huge dustbins in their hands. Should be coordinated by society and government. So the government has a huge role to play in this, as well as the people and the society. And the major role or the major role must be keeping the environment clean, or the primary objective or the most important reason why they do it must be for a cleaner environment, not for business, not for money, not to get votes, not to impress people, but for making sure that we have a cleaner environment as the primary objective. Then it will go on smoothly. Quite a few NGOs have taken initiatives in proper waste management, and they have cleaned beaches, and they have cleaned cities, they have cleaned gardens, parks. NGOs have taken great initiatives. Environmentally friendly NGOs have played huge parts of late in the last 5 6 years in our country to clean many urbanized. Number two, segregation or sorting. Segregation or sorting among the five is the most important step in proper waste management. Because if you collect so much waste and don't do segregation or sorting, you cannot do recycling, you cannot do composting, and you cannot do proper disposal or dumping as well. So among the A, B, C, D, E, five steps which we are discussing, the most important for every society or for every individual is segregation, and this is what can be done at our homes. Segregation before disposal is the most important part of waste management. Waste is usually separated dry or wet, which is biodegradable or non-biodegradable. From the picture, you can easily understand the difference between biodegradable and non-biodegradable. But the differentiating between two is not enough. You have to separate much more, like glass, metal, paper, cloth. All these detailed forms of segregation make it much more easier. The more number of segregation bins we have, the better quality of waste management. If you have two bins, you can do it in a better way. If you do it, if you have 3 bins, it's becoming much more better. If you have 5 bins, the waste management is going to happen in an excellent way. So the more number of bins we have, the more better the waste management can go forward. Each bin must be highlighted with a different color and pictorial representation. In this picture, we can easily see that yellow, red and blue are the 3 colors. The same way there are drink cans written in the first, plastic and glass in the second, paper is the picture which is put in the third. So people who are illiterate also will be able to understand with the help of pictures that each recyclable bin is for certain kind of products or certain kind of waste materials. From here, it undergoes disposal and then the degradable wastes are decomposed while the others are recycled. But there's another important thing, hazardous waste like battery, paint, electronic remains, hospital waste, needles, bulbs or tube lights, things like that, which has a lot of chemicals inside. They should be incinerated. Incineration is a process by which all these things are dumped in a deep vast pit which is covered and sealed, and at high pressure and temperature it is burned so that it doesn't release any harmful gas much gases. At the same time it leaves very less residue, so all these harmful elements which are present in this hazardous solid waste doesn't release into the soil or into the water or into the air. So this is a very important method in which hazardous waste can be segregated and can be completely destroyed. Number three, dumping or disposal. Dumping or disposal, whenever we hear the word dumping, we come to a conclusion that huge dumps or heaps of waste which we see here and there is what we are meaning. But that's not what we are meaning. Dumping is the disposal of waste. It's a process by which is mainly applicable only to waste which is not going to be recycled. So waste like plant waste, animal waste, food waste, all these things, or paper waste, which paper waste can be recycled, or any other degradable material which cannot be recyclable and made into something new. Those kind of things will be dumped or will be put into a kind of dumping which is called sanitary landfill. The open dumping which we see everywhere in our country is the improper method, while sanitary landfill, which we'll be learning in the next slide, is the proper method. So this is the improper method. I don't think anybody needs introduction to this. You would have seen many heaps of plastic dumps and a mixture of dumps over here. So the fundamental problem is, if you look at this picture, you can easily understand that the previous heading, segregation, is not being done. So that is why it is left like this. From this you cannot separate the recyclable material. From this you cannot separate what should go to as compost. From this you cannot separate what should go into a sanitary landfill. So it is confusing because everything is dumped together and there's no segregation taking place. So this will clearly give you an understanding of how important segregation is for the further next steps to happen correctly. So open dumping, it's not environmentally friendly, it's far away from the city, it creates a breeding ground for mosquitoes, insects, new diseases will come, foul odor is observed. If these waste is burned, it has rubber, it has plastic, it has glass, it has metal, it has chemicals, it will create a mixture of harmful gases in the environment. This is the right method, which is sanitary landfill. Here waste are dumped daily at a site and covered with soil and vegetation. So you can see the grey area, compacted solid waste. That is a huge open space which is dug out and solid waste is dumped over there and is covered with soil and vegetation. Covering ensures no burrowing animals enter, and this creates an opportunity of breeding ground to develop. Okay, there's a slight mistake in this point. The covering ensures no burrowing animals enter and create an opportunity, and doesn't create an opportunity for breeding ground to develop. What I wanted to convey was that since no burrowing animals are able to enter into this solid waste portion because of soil and vegetation on top, a breeding ground for mosquitoes or for any kind of contamination will not take place. Hence, there's less chance of diseases. Hence, it properly undergoes decomposition. Carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide are produced. Hereby, there is no long-term problems to public, and it experiences only benefits. Look at the benefits that we can see from here. Number one, there's a lot of waste, and all the waste are properly decomposed. There's no landfill or heap of waste in our neighboring society. That's advantage number one. Number two, no land is wasted. No land is wasted. You might think that this huge area where you dug out, yeah, that land is not wasted actually, because you cover it with soil and there's vegetation on top. So no land is wasted. Advantage number two. Advantage number three, you can do agriculture on top. So the land where wastage is put underneath degradable material will actually fertilize the soil and it will give good yield and good agriculture. That's advantage number 3. Advantage number 4 is that because of methane, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide which is producing inside, if you take it out with a pipe, you can produce methane gas. You can take out methane gas and use it as fuel. So these are the 4 important things, which are 4 important advantages which can be taken out from sanitary landfill. But unfortunately, sanitary landfill is not properly done in our country. It's done in very few places. So that is why that is why we are unable to get multiple benefits out of waste, unlike other countries. Extracting biogas is also, just like as I said, solid waste landfill. This is how they work. On the left, you can see LEACHATE, that is leachate. Leachate storage is nothing but when these degradable material are put inside, these degradable material contains water content. For example, vegetable scraps contain water content, food waste contains water content. The water content will mix with the soil and create a slurry or a semi-solid kind of material, which is very dangerous, and it can create an environment for harmful fungi or bacteria to develop. So this leachate should be controlled, and for controlling it, on the left you can see a soil liner, you can see a geomembrane liner, and you can see a gravel blanket. All these three actually doesn't allow the leachate to go deeper into the soil and touch the groundwater, so the groundwater doesn't get contaminated. On the other hand, you can see daily cover, which is vegetative cover. You can see a methane gas pipe, which is used to drill out the methane gas, and you have a protective cover in between, which actually compresses the waste from the top and from the bottom and creates huge pressure so that it produces methane really high at a fast pace. Number 4, composting. When sanitary landfills cannot be done, for example, you have little waste for each home, we usually depend on composting and not sanitary landfills. Because composting can be done small scale, where you have one bucket full of food waste and vegetable waste. You don't have time and planning to do a huge sanitary landfill plan and dig a huge hole and cover it with soil and vegetation. So that's a lot of time. It can be beneficial only if there's large area and more people. For a single home, composting is the. So what is composting? Composting is a natural biological process carried out under two methods: aerobic with oxygen and anaerobic in the absence of oxygen. In this process, various microorganisms, including bacteria, fungi, break down these organic matter and forms compost. Compost is nothing but it looks like soil. It converts it into soil, totally into soil. Compost reduces household waste. So every day you have one bucket full of vegetable waste. If you keep on dumping it along with dry waste, so you put one layer of wet, degradable vegetable food waste and then another layer of dry leaves or stem or any kind of plant material that is dry, then you put a layer of soil, then again you layer it, the first wet, again dry, again soil. So you layer it again and again, over and over again. Over a due period of time of 4 or 5 months, it converts itself to soil totally and forms compost. There are three major kinds of composting. One is aerobic in the presence of oxygen, which we can do in open places. Another one is anaerobic in the absence of oxygen, which we can do in a closed chamber producing methane. And third one is vermicomposting, which can be done using earthworms, where plant material along with soil and along with some earthworms is converted into manure.
What is compost? Compost is a pile of green organic matter, like food, garden waste, or manure, that has been mixed with brown organic matter, such as leaves, straw, or wood chips. Over time, the compost pile decomposes or breaks down into soil. Billions of tiny creatures help with this breakdown, including worms and fungus, and bacteria. Compost is very rich in nutrients and can be used in gardens and fields to grow crops and to heal soil. And why should we compost?
Compost helps our world so it doesn't be all just loaded with trash.
Garbage doesn't get used like compost does because garbage goes into a big pile wherever that is.
These piles are called landfills. When you throw your food into the garbage, this is where it ends up. Landfills seriously affect our planet's air and our water. When sent to a landfill, leftover food, also known as food scraps, will produce a gas called methane. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas that goes into our air and contributes to global warming in a big way. Greenhouse gases trap the sun's heat in our atmosphere and warm up our planet. Hotter temperatures can lead to melting ice caps, rises in sea level, and animals losing their homes. There is a lot of water in food, and when food scraps are put into the landfill, the water from the food combines with all the other items in the landfill to create a toxic sludge called leachate. Leachate can leak into groundwater and get into our rivers and lakes, harming the creatures that live there and dirtying the water that we drink or swim in. When we compost our food scraps, instead of sending them to the landfill, we reduce both the amount of methane and leachate created, but also we conserve space in our limited landfills. In short, composting is much better for our planet. A closed food cycle is created by keeping food scraps out of the landfill. Food is grown, eaten, and then the food scraps are composted back into the soil to grow more food. So, where do you put your food scraps?
We put it in the compost buckets. They say compost only on them so people know to not put anything else in.
Source separation is very important. That means keeping food scraps in a container by themselves. At your school, there will be a bucket to put food scraps specifically. It's very important to keep everything separated into the proper containers. For example, trash goes into the trash can and dishes go back to the kitchen. What goes in the compost bucket?
You can put in carrots, apple cores, lettuce,
Cucumbers and tomatoes.
orange, watermelon, strawberries,
Pizza and stromboli.
ice cream, fish.
You can also compost any of these: meat and bones, eggs and eggshells, cheese, milk and other dairy products, bread, flour and pasta, butter, oils and fats, nuts and nutshells, soup and sauces, seafood and shells. Basically, anything that you can eat can go in the compost bucket. Some schools also have compostable napkins and dishes that can go in the compost bucket. Ask your teacher if you use these at your school. What does not go in the compost bucket?
You cannot put plastic in compost. You cannot put milk cartons in the compost. You can't put in napkins,
Metal cans. Glass jars.
paper plates,
That's silverware.
watering cans.
And don't forget to peel the little Peel You stickers off of your fruit. Remember to check with your school, but in general, if it isn't food, it cannot be composted. So, no plastic, no paper, no metal, no wood, and no glass of any kind. So, what happens to the food scraps once they leave the school?
All the tiny compost bucket, they'll empty it out into a big compost bucket, so it goes in the compost truck, it goes to compost.
The food scraps leave the school and head to a compost facility where they are blended and made into compost.
They sit for a year and turn into dirt, made out of food.
We've come a long way from the lunchroom, and now that the compost is made, what can compost be used for?
Grows grass. Compost turns into flour.
Composting can help your family grow vegetables.
The compost helps grow food so you can grow taller or smaller. No, you grow smaller.
And that's it. It's just one big food cycle. Composting closes the loop on our food system, creating a healthy, harmonious, and sustainable system for all of us to thrive.
Okay, that video was mostly small kids who were talking, but I purposely put that video mainly because many of the small kids around the world have been doing composting in schools or at home. So we, even at this age, being a little more older, haven't done composting as much as little kids of other countries. Not because we don't have waste, not because we don't have vegetable scraps, not because we don't have food waste. We have all those things, but we don't put the effort. So this is the method of composting I would really appreciate anybody in your class to continue doing composting, because if you just learn it just for the sake of marks, it's of no use unless we put it into practice in our lives. Advantages of composting. At the end of the video you saw the advantages of composting. Anyway, we'll go through the points of what are the advantages of composting. Number one, it enhances soil nutrients. It improves the nutrients or quality of soil. It reduces plant diseases. Plants will be growing to its full potential without any diseases or problems. Reduces expense on fertilizers and pesticides. Very important problem. The nowadays people who are doing large scale farming, they depend so much of they put so much of their input or money into pesticides and fertilizers to make sure that the soil is good, to make sure that worms don't come, to make sure that there's no pest. But if composting is done and that compost is used for the agriculture, it can reduce expense on all of these. Checks on soil erosion, keeps the soil firm and tight so there's no soil erosion. Increases oil absorption ratio of soil. If normal soil can absorb 50 ml of water for every 1 centimeter cube of area of volume, this might be 10 times more. It can increase 500 ml of water. In the place where there was 1 liter water absorption, there will be 10 liters water absorption. So there's a 5 to 10 times ratio doubling when composted soil is used instead of normal soil, because it is made up or it is formed from these water rich vegetable or food waste, so it will automatically have a higher water absorption ratio than normal soil. Absorbs fall order and decomposing compounds along soil or within the soil. Number 5, or the last one, is recycling. This is an environment friendly, economical and natural resources preserving, job opportunity creating, awareness starting project. I'm again repeating, recycling is something which is environment friendly. Recycling is something which doesn't need so much money. It's economical. It preserves natural resources. For example, you recycle paper, you are preserving natural resource of trees. If you are not recycling, you are eventually going to cut down another tree. But when you recycle, you're saving one tree at least for some time. So you're preserving natural resources. It opens more job opportunities. A recycling unit will have hundreds of people working, and it creates awareness for a better future. It's in every way a win-win situation. It's in every way a benefiting situation, but still we don't do it. So it's really sad knowing that these many benefits are there for recycling, but still we don't do it. So government is to be blamed, but still we are also to be blamed for not segregating the waste. Just like how we were discussing about the disposal and dumping, when segregation is not done, disposal and dumping will happen in an improper way. There won't be sanitary landfills, there won't be composting that is taking place, and there will not be recycling also taking place. So we also have a huge role to play, just like how the society or the people at higher powers are. What are things that we can recycle? Paper products like cardboard, milk, juice cartons, used books, labels, wrapping sheets, or in medical field of medicine industry, there's a lot of paper products that are coming. Most of things which can be recycled. Iron and steel. We use iron and steel. Electronic remains, mobile phones or machines that we use, or any electrical gadgets that we use has iron and steel. Machinery in huge industries has iron and steel. Cookware has iron and steel. Electronics and automobiles has iron and steel. Aluminium, electric waste, kitchen waste, or kitchen appliances which we used mostly as aluminium. Most of us at home use vessels for cooking which is made up of aluminium. Aluminium foil we use in our tiffin boxes. Machinery is made up of aluminium. Electronics and automobiles also include aluminium. So that's a picture of metal waste on the right side, and mobile phone which is broken, and that's also another variety of e-waste. Glass waste, bulbs, lights, glassware, automobiles, window panes, so much of glass waste from our homes go out every day, which can be recycled. The next picture which came on the left side in the middle was medical waste. You can see a bag where there's some blood, and there's a lot of medicines, there's some syringe, needles, cotton. Medical waste is one of the most dangerous, or in fact the most dangerous kind of waste, because it contains so much harmful chemicals, at the same time so much harmful bacteria and viruses, because it's coming from hospitals. The last thing is plastic waste. I'm not writing where you find it because you find it everywhere. So I on purpose wrote everywhere over there because you know where you can find plastic. I don't have to tell you. Plastic is something you find everywhere. And the picture at the bottom in the center indicates automobile waste where automobiles are crushed and can be recycled again, and on the top shows plastic waste. It's just plastic bottles though. There are so many uncountable number of products which are made up of plastics. Plastics are not bad. To be fair, plastics are a good product provided it is recycled. Every plastic can be recycled if recycling is done properly. Actually, plastic is very good. It can be used, reused, and recycled, and there doesn't need to be more plastic to be produced. The amount of plastic which is in our country, if it is recycled, it's more than enough to serve the next 10 generations. That much plastic is there in our countries. We don't need to produce again and again. The reason we are producing is the ones which are made are not segregated, are not disposed, are not recycled. If it is recycled, almost 80% of what was produced will again go back. So since these things are not done, again and again plastic is being produced and more waste is being produced. So it's actually in your hands. If everybody does segregation at home, all the other things will happen, recycling will happen, and more production of plastics or things which are harming the earth can. Methods of safe disposal of liquid waste. So solid waste, you heard five things. Liquid waste, there are 4 points, but it is not as detailed as the disposal of solid waste. Number one is sewage. Sewage can be done in two ways. Either there's underground sewage, sewage from homes, sewage from industries, sewage from hotels, sewage from hospitals, or any big places or cities or colonies. It can either be done in open sewage or in closed sewage. In most of the cities, the top left picture, which is underground sewage system, is used. In villages and small townships, a smaller method of open sewage system is used. So this is the first process where waste from a place being produced, either it is home or an industry or a factory or a hospital, comes out in a particular channel, leading it for separation. So from the starting point where the liquid waste is being produced to the separation point, there's a channel which is taking it. That channel is sewage. It is either underground or open. Number two is separation. Separating solid particles from the liquid waste and then boiling the liquid waste, or then separating finer particles. So the bigger particles are first separated, then finer particles are again separated, then the water is increased its temperature, then again it separates a little more. So separation of this solid particles again and again and again to make it much more clearer. Third one is filtration. Filtration is mainly done in a treatment plant. So you can see a pictorial representation where the pipe takes water to the treatment center. So after separation, this slurry water goes to the treatment center. Screening is done. Primary stage treatment is done. There's huge bins like that, circular bins, where water is again and again lifted up and it falls down at great pressure and speed. And there are huge fans which blows through the water and tries to separate it and filter it. And there's thin meshes, which is the secondary storage system treatment stage, where there's thin mesh or a filter through which the water passes and it completely changes the color of the water. And again there's another huge drum where there's a final treatment stage, and by the time it comes out, it's filtered into the water. It is literally transparent or almost transparent, which is number four, the disposal. You can see the picture over here. We rarely see sites like this in our country where after filtration, when the water is going into a water body, it's literally transparent. So don't misunderstand that transparent water is pure water. It doesn't mean it's pure water, but it is much more better than water which is contaminated or filled with coloration or turbid water with mud or any other harmful material. Even this transparent water will be filled with harmful pollutants, but still it will be much better than water which is of black or brown in color. So four parts: number one sewage, number two separation, number three filters, and number four disposal. So these are the methods of safe disposal of liquid. So last topic is a topic which you would have heard many times: reuse, reduce, and recycle. So what should we reduce? We can reduce the amount of energy we consume every day, switching off electricity when it's not needed. We can reduce personal vehicle usage, use more cycles, and use public transport. So there are a lot of things that we can reduce using. Reusing can be done when there's something which doesn't affect the environment, or even if it affects the environment, instead of throwing it, we use it again for something else. A water bottle can be reused again and you can convert it into something else. Using crafty ideas, it can be converted to something else. Cardboard boxes can be converted to something else. That's reusing. Recycle, the last thing, it's when it is broken down and then transformed into another thing. So there's a huge difference between reuse and recycle. Don't think it's both changing it to another thing. Reuse is you take the cardboard box and you make something out of it. It's still a cardboard box though, or it's still cardboard itself. But recycle is when it's broken down, it's shredded into pieces, it's ground into a paste, and then they're making another paper out of it, then they're making another cardboard sheet out of it. That's making the same thing out of something which was earlier made by undergoing a process. That is recycling. And also note to tell, refuse. Refuse mainly to plastic bags, so things which affect the environment. So refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, these are 4 terms you would have heard throughout your 7th, 8th, 9th and now in 10th also. Please understand that these are small terms which have big impact and big value. So learn them and also follow them in your life. I hope you easily understood this waste management, improper waste management in the first session and proper waste management in the second session. I'll see you soon in the next class. Thank you.